You got it.
We got it already.
We got the lights, you got the camera.
Okay, so we're just ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about why we chose to use meth, since this is going to be the topic of group tonight. Any feelings about what the attraction is to meth? Why not cocaine or marijuana or heroin? Why meth?
It got me to where I wanted to be a lot quicker.
Excuse me, what?
It got me to where I wanted to be a lot quicker. It got me to my high quicker. It kept me there longer than crack or cocaine.
So you've used a lot of other drugs, and meth seemed to give you a high quicker.
Yeah, yes.
Phillip, how do you use meth? What's your method of using it?
Inhaling through a glass tube or mixing it in my drink, drinking it down, or using it like a salt on my food.
Okay. So it comes in powder form initially,
Yes.
or rock form, and you can dissolve that if you wanted to use it intravenously. How would you do that?
It dissolves easily, and as far as people that use it for needle use, they say it breaks down a lot easier and a lot quicker.
Makes
And all
sense.
they have to do is heat it just very little, and it's ready.
Okay. So it also sounds like it's compactable, it's travelable.
Yeah.
That you can do
A lot
it
of them
anywhere.
say that when they used it in their veins, that it hit them so hard and give them such a rush that a lot of times they weren't able to control themselves and contain their high of excitement or
Right.
whatever.
Greg, why did you pick meth?
That was just something else I experimented with. I just wanted to try it out like I did everything else. And
Who turned
so-
you on to it initially?
first time, I can't really remember. I think I probably started doing cocaine, snorting cocaine, and I started shooting cocaine, and then I went to shooting meth, and I basically just started shooting any kind of drugs instead of snorting anymore. Because shooting up was a lot quicker and got a bigger rush, and it's just more, I don't know, exciting or something. I don't know how to explain it. It's just the rush you get off of it is, it kind of takes your breath away or something. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but once you do it, you don't really. I tried snorting it after that, and it don't really do nothing to me after that. I can smoke it out of a pipe, and I'll get a little bit of a rush, but not like banging it, not like shooting it up.
Right.
You know, I don't know about other people heating it up. I never heated it up. I just would dump, a quarter gram in a spoon and pull some water up, and squirt it in the spoon and stir it, and throw a piece of cotton, draw it up, and it was ready to go.
Greg, when you say it gave you a rush, can you define rush for me? What do you mean by rush?
Oh, like feel your heart, maybe like do a flip-flop sort of or something. Your breath gets taken away almost. Your ears maybe ring. You break out in sweat, just kind of like when you ever heard the expression, somebody says, oh, somebody walked across your grave, when somebody goes, like that's kind of
Like a cold chill?
yeah, or a hot rush. It's different for different people, I think. But
Right.
some people will throw up, other people won't. Some people will just gag a little bit, other people won't gag at all. Sometimes you'll have to, depends on how big a shot you do or how good it is, you might have to sit down.
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, it's like, I don't know if I'd ever be turned on to a drug like that because it sounds like a lot of negatives. What was the positive feeling for you, or are those positive feelings for you?
That was positive for me while I was doing it. And then along with, you get the speed feeling of you're like wide awake. Everything seems more clear or interesting, at least when you first start doing it. After about being up for a few days, you know, then you kind of start getting jumbled up a little bit and not really, kind of start getting mixed up, not remembering things. I don't know, after I would do it for quite a few days, I would hallucinate sometimes and see stuff.
Right.
Just even, might just be, could be anything as simple from fibers in the carpet moving to actually seeing something like people that weren't there.
People hiding.
Yeah, I've seen people and carried on conversations with them that weren't there. That's what I've been told. You know, I thought they were there.
A lot of people that had used meth had said exactly those same things about symptoms, like physiological symptoms that were happening to them, psychological symptoms like having hallucinations, especially tactile hallucinations, like a common one with spiders were walking on your skin. A lot of times when people use amphetamines or uppers, it affects the central nervous system, so that tends to make sense, that your skin feels like it's crawling, or tingling sensations,
Yeah.
heart racing.
Yeah, I would go along with that. I never had any experiences like spiders on me or anything like that. I would see things, but what always struck me as strange was that you know, I would pay money for acid so I could see things, and I could handle that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what I wanted. But whenever I'd be doing crystal for so long, then, and I'd start hallucinating, I'd be telling myself, it's not real, it's not real, don't be freaking out, you know, it's not real, it's not really there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be see people outside my windows looking in, and there wasn't nobody there, but, you know, I would have to keep telling myself it's not there, you know, and I would be thinking, well, I used to pay money for acid to see this kind of stuff, but now I don't want to see it. I don't know, it's just,
Trying to juggle everything,
yeah.
different sensations from different drugs. Okay. Angela, I saw you shaking your head during some of this. I guess you identify with some of
yeah.
what Greg was saying.
Oh yeah.
What was
definitely.
your reason for using meth?
Well, I'm diagnosed as manic depressive, and for many years it went untreated. And when I go into my depressive episodes, nothing seemed to matter. I could care less if I was here or not. I didn't really particularly care if my children were taken care of or whatever. You know, I just was barely existing. But when I was turned on to the crystal meth, it was more like the manic episodes that I experienced. He described I say it's a body rush. You get a body rush, and you're full of energy, you're full of life, you want to go, you want to do, you know, and I became super mom. You know, I could do it all. And the more I did the crystal meth, the less I had the depressive episodes. And so I would just continue doing the crystal meth so I didn't have to come down and crash.
So you were getting some secondary gains by using because of your mental illness, because a part of bipolar disorder is having manic and depressive episodes.
Right.
So you, a lot of people, that's common that they want to feel more manicky than they do want to be depressed. Because you can
Absolutely.
get a lot more done and you can be a lot more productive.
Productive, absolutely. You're a more productive member of society. You can pull off a lot more if you're out there in the world. People don't realize how depressed you really are. When I wasn't doing crystal, or if I wasn't in a manic episode, it was obvious, blatant depression. Wouldn't leave my house, you know, cried for days on end, wouldn't shower, wouldn't, you know, just, it was bad. But like I said, as soon as the crystal meth came into my life, everything turned around. I was a totally different person. I could do it all. I was superhuman.
Did you ever come down long enough for that depressive episode to take place off of the meth? And how different was that depression based on your normal depression from the bipolar disorder?
It was devastating. It was a devastating depression. I ended up hospitalized.
Okay.
When I knew when I didn't want to live anymore because it had fucked up my whole life. you could come out of your depressive episodes when you're manic depressive. Sometimes it took a little help, a little drug therapy. But when I came off the crystal meth, I wanted to die.
So it really not only enhanced the manic phase and made that manic part more manic-y, but it also made the depression
Much more severe.
okay.
Yeah, that's when I say I hit my bottom. The week I checked into the hotel room and detoxed myself was the worst bout of depression I ever suffered. I thought I was doing good for myself, and when I came out of the hotel room and I sought outpatient services, I was really thankful that there was a psychiatrist that was alert and attuned enough to realize that I needed more help than what I was seeking, and consequently hospitalized me, checked me for bipolar, got me on the proper medications, you know, and it's been uphill since then, so.
Okay, thanks, Angela.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people felt the rush of feelings off of that one, about how it has devastated your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about Terry? Why did you, and you've got a particular situation of manufacturing it and selling it. Well, were you a user of meth, Terry? What was the attraction of meth to you?
In the beginning, you didn't eat. It was a great weight loss system.
Okay. And why was that important to you?
Well, because at the time I had no self-esteem, you know, and everything was coming from the outside. You know, you have to look good on the outside, and, you know, those were the things I thought was important. And I think, you know, a lot of it too was you really thought you were getting things done. You know, you had it going on. And actually, when you're outside looking in, it's like, and I read in an article one time, somebody from here, I believe, said, it's like nailing your foot to the floor and going around in circles. That's just what it is.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
So what was the attraction for it for you? What did it do for you emotionally?
You know, in the beginning, it makes you feel good. Like I said, it's a rush. It's, you know, you're up, you're ready to go, you're ready to take on anything, you can do anything, you know.
Could your friends usually tell when you had been using?
Well, yeah, because I was using with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, and as far as people that didn't use, I think you probably thought, you know, you had it under control. And I still see this sometimes today in a couple of my family members that use, even if I just come in contact with them for a few minutes, and they're like, oh, well, I don't do this stuff anymore. You know, their mouth's going like, the facial tics and everything. It's like, you know, you can't play a player.
You're like going
know?
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I know there were signs to people, but at the time, you know, you're justifying it and rationalizing, and you've got it under control, and nobody knows, and you think you're perfectly normal.
On manufacturing it, is it an easy thing?
Yeah, it's fairly easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable with that, can you tell us the ingredients that you use to make it?
There was 3 ingredients. It was what you call red, black, and white, and they're all 3 chemicals. And then there were a lot of other things, and I know this has been talked about a lot too, is that are common, you know, household things, or maybe not even household, but just things that are very easily obtainable, a grocery store, hardware store, whatever. You know, it's not that difficult. And I was thinking, I'm looking at if some of these losers I'm seeing can do this, I know I can do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you start manufacturing?
Because I told myself, because I didn't want to do it. I had come across some bad dope, and it was like, just like I said, if they can do it, I know I can do it better, and then I don't have to worry about, you know, I know what I'm getting, and the money, and those are all things I told myself, but for myself, manufacturing is a high into itself. it becomes an addiction and a high.
Would you get almost the same type of rush off of doing a deal as
Yeah.
you would when you're high?
Yes, exactly. The part that everybody considers dangerous, what they call a burn, yeah, you would.
Okay. Let me skip back over to Phillip. And you had a situation unique like Terry in that you were manufacturing it and selling it. Tell me about some of the, I guess, some street knowledge that you have to share with us on how that is to be on the streets. Not specifically where you went, that's not important, but street names that was used for it that are common to you.
A lot of times it was go fast, speed, dime bags, quarter bags, whatever the size you wanted. A lot of the time I spent a little bit of time out on the streets, and then I got tired of doing that. I decided to get in on my own. As far as who I was learning from, they just, here, this is a different for you. Try this, and I tried making it, and I got to where I could make it. And so I just started getting into business for myself.
As compared to Terry's ingredients, do you find that you were using anything different?
Oh, I was using a lot of ingredients. I was using the red, which is red phosphorus. The black is black iodine. The white is the capsules you get. You go out and get the diet capsules, the mini thins, and all you do is break them down in clean water. Go to the store and buy jugs of water, distilled water. Denatured alcohol was part of my breakdown solution. Acetone, acid, which was hydrochloric, or you could use muriatic acid to adapt for that. If you didn't have hydrochloric, you just use muriatic.
How did you learn how to do all that? Where'd you learn that?
Well, I learned real quick and real fast. I mean, when the person came around, he was already high and he was already going. And when he showed me how to do it, it was like, it was so quick. I just had to watch and learn every step so quickly, and it took me about 5 classes.
Yeah.
And so I got to where I was doing it about as fast as he was. And when I got to that step, I got out of cleaning for him, which you start in as just a maintenance person. You step in, you clean the dishes for them, you clean up after their messes. And I got to where I could clean up after their messes and also produce something out of it too. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people didn't know what they were getting in their drugs, but I knew what I was getting in mine, and I knew the clean from the stepped on, and I'd usually sell the stepped on first and then bring out my clean stuff.
What do you mean by stepped on? And it being a dirty product?
Yeah, it would be half dirty, and you could take some of your clean and mix in with it, and you could con some that were heavy users, but they didn't want to go as far as making it themselves. So you'd say, well, here, I'll go ahead and do you this deal. And they'd get a stepped-on bag, but they'd get clean stuff in with it, so they'd get high. And they'd want to come back for more. So by the time the clean stuff actually came out, it was hitting them like a Mack truck. And by that time, I was already ahead of them. I mean, I was already getting hit by that Mack truck so many times that I was way ahead of them.
Okay.
Why did you get into manufacturing, Phillip? What was your primary purpose in getting into it?
Because of how simple it was to make your own dope.
And was it for your own usage?
Yeah. A lot of times I liked getting the money, but I don't know, I just seen it how hard it was for me to spend my money without them noticing that, yeah, here's this guy with all this money, how's he getting it, you know?
Without who noticing?
Cops, authorities, any clerk at a store. You go in, you buy certain stuff, and if you went in and bought your chemicals at the same place. I usually went to several different places or out of town or whatever to buy chemicals. And they'd catch on to that real quick. So it'd have to change. And you just have to go in a rotation for place to place. And a lot of that helped keep me from getting caught so easily. But when I did get caught, it brought me down so low, it trashed my world.
So give me a reason. You said it brought you down and trashed your world. Why was that? Did it have anything to do about disappointment?
Yeah, and it made it harder for me to produce my own chemical. Once I got busted, it was like notified everywhere. It was like, here's this person. As far as stores being notified, I don't know. But it seemed like if your face showed up there, it was like they took attention to you buying chemicals after it became such a hot deal. And after a place becomes known for manufacturing methamphetamines and starts knowing some of the ingredients, it's like it gets hard to buy the chemicals.
Since you were being monitored so carefully, how and where did you, what kind of space did you need to manufacture?
Not a very big space.
Not a very big space. So, I've heard some other clients say that they could do it in, a trunk of a car. Is that true?
Yeah, as long as you had it properly set up, and a lot of times if you're doing something like that, you'd have to set it up ahead of time to where you can just add here and there as you make your stops, because if you're moving and you jiggle something, it's going to blow up on you.
So what you're saying is that was going to be my next question to you. How explosive is and how volatile is the chemicals?
It's real flammable.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of times for me to keep flames down, it was just using a lot of distilled water. But also I had to make up for that by using a lot of acids, the hydrochloric, the muriatic, because the only way I could get it to drop white was to get what I had in the air out and into the jug that I was shaking from. And that consisted of putting in Coleman and the ingredients from the denatured alcohol and from what I brought out of my cook. And I'd have to bring it out and put it together in the Coleman, and then I'd have to add the muriatic acid or the hydrochloric acid, and then I'd have to shake it, and whatever's in the air comes into there.
Sounds like a complicated process.
But it sounds like...
In a way, but it's real easy.
Not really.
I was
Not
going to
really?
say, you don't have to be a chemist in order to start producing some of the stuff that is...
No, but it does help to
Deadly.
read.
It would.
It does help to read the books. There's certain underground books you can get, or even just going out to bookstores that sell the books, like marijuana grow books or anything like that. Other times you'd have to send in and order it. And you could use a P.O. box to get your stuff ordered in and use an alias name or whatever under it.
Some of the chemicals that you were just mentioning, not only are they highly flammable, but what happens when you're inhaling some of the fumes from that? Because aren't most of those ingredients normal ingredients that people who are inhalant abusers or addictions, didn't you get high just from making it? And how could you, when you were making it and being that high, how can you keep yourself so alert in order to keep down the flames, as you said, and to keep things from exploding?
Other times I had to either get used to it, or I'd have to wear a mask, which was a respirator mask, and I could screw on the filters.
Okay.
And I'd use such a heavy mask for filtering that I was getting really pretty much clean air in instead of the dirty air. But other times when I didn't use a mask, I'd have to get used to the smell of everything around me.
Terry, you were going to say something, what?
Well, I just, as you're going into the process more, you're starting to get a lot of the fumes and stuff. I think that's where a lot of people have problems when they're, at the beginning of it, ideally you'd be pretty straight. You know, that's the part that's considered the most dangerous. That's the part, you know, if you got half a brain left by this time that you want to be, you know, careful on, use, you know, like you said, either using a mask or whatever, and definitely having a good filtering system at that point. And once you're done with that part, you know, you're still working with flammable things, but it's not anywhere near as dangerous as, and so, yeah, there's no way you could not, you know, be exposed to all that. I mean, when you get to the point where you're shaking and everything, you know, there's that smell, and using the acetone is just, that's where they pick up on the smell. But like I said, it's not the only part of the process. There's quite a few different steps to it also.
You mentioned the smell. What if I were driving through a rural neighborhood, what kind of, or going through somebody's house, if one of my friends was manufacturing and I didn't know, what would be a detector for me? What does it smell like?
Well, the detector would be the acetone or the Coleman fuel, or whatever fuel you're using. I mean, like I said, at that point, it's really strongest. When you're doing a burn, if you've got a good filtering system, you shouldn't pick up that much of a smell. That's part of, you know, the point of filtering, part of it, you know. As far as that smell, there's no way for me to describe it. It's a smell all unto its own, and the only other time I've smelled it is driving through Kansas at night when there was a rainstorm and all these wheat fields. That's the only other time I've smelled. I can't.
So it's not comparable to anything. It has a smell of its own.
Yes.
Do you find that smell that you're getting when you're manufacturing it, is it the same smell that you get when you initially snort it?
You should,
Yeah.
You should, but also a lot of times, you know, especially if you're doing fresh product, you're going to be getting a lot of acetone whiff, or, you know, and then there's a lot of dirty stuff too, like you said.
Right.
There's a lot of dirty stuff out there, so.
But that's one of the ways you can tell if it's the good stuff
Right.
is by the smell. Once you're snorting it up,
Right.
you can smell it, the difference, if it's been stomped on or if it's clean.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
What's
much
the-
more
and
potent.
if-
And then the stepped on stuff also doesn't burn as much.
Right.
I mean, if you've got some good stuff, it's going to make your eyes water.
If you're smoking it in a glass, you can tell the purity immediately.
It's clear.
Immediately.
It's clear brown.
As we're sitting here talking, I just had a thought pop into my mind. Is anybody sitting here going, damn, I could
That
really
was
use some of that right now?
No.
How many of you are
Absolutely.
romancing it? And James, I guess my concern is because just recently you relapsed with meth, and sitting here listening to this, does it trigger anything in you?
Not right now. I think right now I'm still kind of relieved from earlier.
Okay.
But usually about the third day after using it is when I my cravings and my moods are actually the hardest. 4 or 5 days later, about the hardest thing for me is just to be able to concentrate right. I guess for the periods of times that I use it, you know, it takes about twice as long to get back to where I'm starting to think right. I've like stayed awake for 2 weeks, you know, in a row, and then it's like long time before you can actually keep a straight thought pattern, I guess.
Because that was one of my concerns, because that also clicked into my mind when we were going around, because I knew, you know, of your relapse last week, and I wondered how much it was triggering, and why did you relapse with meth? I mean, why was meth the thing that you chose to go back to? And
I think possibly my anger.
okay.
It brought on all that rage, you know, and I did pretty good with controlling my anger, and I just let it fester.
Okay.
And then when it was done festering, I festered some more, I guess.
I was going to say, did you use the meth to cover up the anger to kind of relieve that feeling?
I would say maybe I kind of enjoyed all that,
Tenseness?
the tenseness, and then when I realized that I overcame that somewhat, it wasn't enough.
Okay. So